welcome. This week we're covering Jesus as Son of God. I hope you're well.
I'm very well, thank you.
Enjoying this Advent season.
Yes, well, Advent's always full of hope, isn't it? Because we look forward to Christmas. So it's that time of preparation, which is very important for us.
So, because it's Advent, we're looking at why did God become human in Jesus?
That's a big question. God wished to redeem us, and that was the way in which He chose. I think we understand, shall I say, that as human beings, there are elements of our lives which are in need of redemption. We know that we are not as good as we could be, that we do things that we don't intend to do, that we create wars and pain and hurt each other, that we can be greedy and selfish, that we can often not respect other people as we should, and all these things indicate to us that we are perhaps not as God would want us to be. God, our Creator, would have created us in a very blessed way, I think, and we have drifted from that as a human race, So in sending His Son to us, just to be just like us, and yet at the same time to be, as God too, then we are shown a way back to the Father, a way which is open for us through the death, through the life, passion, death, resurrection of Jesus. That's why God did it. Now, He could have done it other ways, but being God, but that's the way that He chose, and it's a way which enables us to come close to God, because Jesus gets alongside us as our brother as He leads us to the Father.
Fantastic. Another big question, I'm sorry. What does it mean that Jesus is both human and divine?
Well, it means that when God gave Himself to us in love, in Jesus Christ, He didn't in any way diminish Himself. So Jesus was fully God, and yet our experience, the human experience of Jesus on earth, was that He was also fully human, except for sin. Well, sin means being separated from God, so obviously He couldn't be separated from God because He was God too. So sin in that sense of being distant from God. I don't mean He didn't do little naughty things from time to time. We don't know whether He did or not, but I mean, I imagine that if He was a perfect child or whatever, well, He wasn't a perfect child. He went off to the temple, didn't He, and left his mum and dad and all that, and gave them some anxiety and stress and so on. So we're not talking about those kind of sinful little things, but just as what we call sins, which aren't really sins. Well, sin is about being separated from God, and Jesus couldn't have been separated from God. So He was fully human, fully divine. Now, it took a while for us as a human race to work that out, because it's based on experience and on our thought and understanding of the life of Jesus, and also of the action of His Spirit within us.
There are many titles for Jesus. Which is your favourite and why?
What, like Son of Man, Son of
Yeah.
God? Well, one which I personally, kind of hold very dear is Jesus as shepherd, as the good shepherd, which is He said that Himself. And that, of course, means a lot to me as a bishop, because in my role as a bishop, I see myself, the church sees me as a pastor, or as a shepherd. That's why I carry the shepherd's crook. Shepherds in ancient times led their people, led the sheep. They didn't herd them from behind, but they also had a great care for them as a group, but nevertheless were able to, and Jesus tells us the story of the shepherd who goes off after the one sheep that was lost, leaving the others behind. Shepherds also have this care and concern for the individual. So So that's the image of Jesus which I hold dear to my heart.
Thank you. For you, which part of Jesus' ministry do you find most attractive, or which part do you closely identify with?
But it's really, as I've just said, this image he gave us of being in the shepherd. But the story which in Jesus' life, which I return to over and over again in the scriptures, and is for me a very important moment, is when Jesus was with his disciples on the shores of Lake Tiberias at Caesarea Philippi, and he says to Peter and the other disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And then Peter makes this confession of faith when he says, "You are the Son of the living God," having dismissed various other options. It's that interaction, if you like, with Jesus and the disciples. When they come to faith, they have to really say what it is that they're attracted to in Jesus, what he means for them. "You are the Son of the living God." So he said, some say you're Elijah, this figure who would come, who went to heaven in a fiery chariot, who will come back at the end of time. Some say you're John the Baptist. And some would say, who was getting John the Baptist and Jesus mixed up because they were cousins and they were more or less contemporary. And then others would say you're Jeremiah. Well, Jeremiah was the prophet who suffered, and the prophet more than that who suffered in Jerusalem as well. So Jesus heading for Jerusalem, and you could see how people could see, it's Jeremiah come back to us. You see. But Peter gets that clear, and he says, "No, you're not Jeremiah, you're not John the Baptist, you're not Elijah, you are Jesus, the Son of God." And that's the moment of faith, if you like, which I think we all have to come to at some stage in our lives. So we have to say in our hearts, yes, you are the Son of the living God.
Brilliant. What is the significance of God becoming human in such a humble way as a baby born into poverty?
Well, I suppose if you're going to become human, you'd have to be a baby, I suppose. I suppose you could just appear. But I think it's to show how although Jesus is fully God, he's also fully human, and that makes him very close to us. It means that Jesus is our brother, we are his sisters and brothers. So God is no longer a remote, distant figure, but is close to us. And that's quite hard to accept. It's much easier for God to live on top of Mount Olympus, or to live in the heavens somewhere, top of the clouds, miles away, and be all powerful, and then you can blame him for everything. It's all his fault all the time. But for us, God is, in his Son Jesus Christ, is very close to us, very close indeed, and is kind of walking with us as someone who accompanies us on our journey. He is our companion. That word companion means someone who shares bread. That's what the word means. We eat bread together. That's the word companion. Work on that. And that's what we do with Jesus. He's our companion, and we do share bread. We share the bread of life. We share his body and blood, and that's that for me is what Jesus means. There was a Dominican mystic called Meister Eckhart from the Rhineland, and he used to talk about walking with Jesus. It says that Jesus, you should never let him get too far in front of you, because he'll dazzle you and you'll lose your way, you'll trip up because you won't be able to see where you're going. Don't let him get too far behind, because you will also lose your way, because you won't be there to direct you. So you have to keep Jesus kind of at your side, maybe half a step in front, just so you can glimpse him out the corner of your eye. And I think that's a beautiful image for understanding the way in which our Lord is with us through through our lives, to help us, to guide us, to share bread with us. So faith in that sense then, you see, becomes faith in him. So we're not talking there about a set of beliefs like we would find in the creed or whatever, but we're talking about faith in a person. Then you can see how those words of Pope Benedict, the one that I quote quite often, which says that faith grows through the experience of love received and is communicated through the experience of joy and grace. So we receive love from Jesus, our companion, and it's communicated through the way which we live our lives full of God's joy and grace.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Bishop Malcolm.